Hello there. Who are you? Based on your vibe, student. Your blouse is loose. You're not here to be ogled, but those bracelets, they jangle. You like a little attention. Okay, I bite.
Lifetime's You, now belonging to Netflix, is a story of a young 20-something man. Charming, deep, thoughtful, considerate, on his soulful search for love in the great city of New York. Just kidding. This show, based upon Caroline Kepney's book of the same name, follows bookstore manager/stalker Joe Goldberg, played by Gossip Girl's Penn Badgley, and the object of his affection, Guinevere Beck, played by Elizabeth Lail, a young writer pursuing her MFA. Now, when I say stalker, I don't just mean, Joe scrolled 2 years back on Beck's Instagram or checked out her LinkedIn. I mean, he stands outside of her apartment every day and monitors every detail of her life under the guise of being her protector. You is a story about a deeply ill man and the aftermath of his obsession. A cautionary tale about internet privacy and love in the modern world, You and its viewership leads to a much-needed analysis of the sick way society romanticizes infatuation. As a sucker for Gossip Girl, I get that Penn Badgley is a cutie. That jawline, the weird but hot amount of chest hair. But what truly baffles me is that so many viewers have watched the season in its entirety, and what they took from it was, wow, I wish a man loved me the way Joe loves Beck. What? This phenomenon isn't new. Think back to Twilight fans, 50 Shades fans, or even earlier. For whatever reason, not me, I'm not into this, but we read books about men sneaking into young girls' rooms at night to watch them sleep, or showing up when they're out with their friends to command them to abandon their social lives for the sake of a booty call, and we believe this is love? We don't even have to be spoon-fed this idea at this point. We've absorbed it. It's been in everything we've seen or read, and now we accept crazy behavior as demonstrative of affection. Books, TV shows, movies have all contributed to the escalation of infatuation, to obsession, to stalking, to harassment, and we've been trained to perceive it all as intimacy, as some soul connection. It's not, why does this man keep showing up wherever I go, but, wow, he's here too, we must be soulmates. It's not, wow, maybe I should consider the implications of this character's controlling and obsessive behavior. It's, he's just really passionate and in love. If you're looking at these tweets and thinking, these are grown-ass, desperate women, sure, fine. But let's take a look at the recent but since deleted Instagram story posted by none other than Stranger Things' Millie Bobby Brown.
Okay, so I just started that new show, You. He's not creepy, he's in love with her, and it's okay. So I'm obsessed with it, I'm binge watching it, absolute banger, Netflix. Mwah. Okay, I know everybody's gonna say, he's a stalker, why would you support that? No, he's in love with her, and it's just just watch the show, and don't judge me on my opinion.
Maybe she really had just barely started and hadn't seen, the murder and stuff yet. But the key thing to note here is that she's 14. Not only is she at a prime age for general romanticization and fantasizing about what love looks like, but she's been raised in the peak of the toxic infatuation romance narrative. What startles me the most about the reception of Lifetime's You is that Joe's obsession gleamed as affection isn't buried. Perhaps we can read Twilight and simply not see the problems present in Bella's willingness to give up her family and entire life for the sake of an eternal life with Edward, because we're so drawn to their love for one another, no matter how toxic. Edward protects her, he cares for her, he makes sacrifices to do what he thinks is best for her. Sure, if I were blind,
I bite.
Joe, on the other hand, is violent from the get-go of the show. Maybe in the first 45 seconds of the first episode, we can hear Penn Badgley's deep, gravelly, alluring voice. Maybe for those brief seconds, we can perceive him as charming, normal, quirky. As soon as he begins to overanalyze Beck's physicality and meaningless actions, we know. In that moment, if not before, we know. Something here is off. If you've managed to get through the first episode without realizing he's a nut job, perhaps the subsequent series of attempted or successful murders will do it for you. For those of you who argue that his relationship with neighbor's son Paco humanizes him, there's no hope for you. Joe Goldberg isn't another romantic hero to add to the list of problematic YA love interests. In an interview, the show creator discusses the ways in which our society's love stories are consumed by men too. Not only are young girls convinced that doing anything for love is justified, but young boys have absorbed that too, and even further, believe it to be true even when a woman has persisted in her rejection. Joe is the aftermath of what these viewers are exhibiting. The women defending Joe's actions online are matched by those young men who see the Joes and Edwards and Christians of the world and think this is how love works. Look, boys and girls of Gen Z, don't be a Beck and don't be a Joe. The warning goes both ways. The show's reception, no matter how appalling, is indicative of how successfully used creators tapped into and made obvious a glaring societal issue. We root for Joe, even when we don't want to, and even when we also don't. Even in the season's final moments, even when we've seen what Joe is capable of, the audience hates Beck for sleeping with her therapist, hates her for finding the box, and hopes, in that moment she feigns loving him in hopes of escaping an inevitable fate, that it's real, that she'll hold him and forgive him, and that, at the end of the day, we'll get another glimpse of those hot early morning rom sessions followed by avocado toast, with romantic indie pop swelling in the background. Our conception of love is twisted, but the show brings out that unfortunate truth impeccably.